This is your life as a female prisoner in World War II. You are lying on a wooden bunk in the dark, staring at the ceiling. You are counting footsteps in the corridor. Heavy boots. Measured. You know this sound. You have learned to read it the way some people read weather, how many, how close. Whether they are slowing down. They are slowing down. Your body goes completely still. The footsteps stop outside your door. You close your eyes. You think, please, not tonight. Last time there were 4. The time before that, 3. You have learned to do the math before the bolt slides. You have learned the math never helps. A key turns in the lock. The door opens. A German soldier stands in the frame. He looks at you the way men look at something they own. You get up before he speaks. You already know what comes next. You have known since the first week. This is Ravensbrück. This is what the nights are for. Part 1. The Ordinary Life. Your name is Anna. You are 22 years old, and 6 months ago you were nobody's prisoner. You lived in a small apartment in southern Poland with your husband Tomasz and your 4-year-old son, Piotr. The apartment had 1 bedroom, a kitchen window that faced the courtyard, and a fern on the sill that survived despite you. Tomasz worked at the grain mill 2 streets over. He laughed too loud in public, which embarrassed you and which you secretly loved. Piotr had his father's laugh, and your eyes, and an opinion about everything. In the evenings you sat by the window. Tomasz read the paper. Piotr slept. Outside, the town moved through its ordinary hours, and you were part of it, and you had no reason to imagine otherwise. The war had been going on for 2 years. You knew this the way you know weather, distantly, as something happening somewhere else. Tomasz said, "It won't reach us here." One evening in March, you came home from the market and there was a new German military poster on the wall of the building opposite yours. You did not read it all the way through, but you saw enough. You went inside and started dinner and said nothing. The fern dropped a leaf that night. You picked it up and threw it away. 3 weeks later, they came. Part 2. The night they came, the knock comes at 2 in the morning. Not a knock, a fist. The door shakes in its frame. Tomasz is already moving in the dark. You reach for him. He squeezes your hand once, hard. Then he is at the door. 4 soldiers fill the small hallway. Long gray coats, one with a paper, one with a rifle. They look at your apartment with the flat gaze of men who do this often and find it unremarkable. Tomasz says something. Firm, steady, the way a man speaks when he knows it will make no difference and speaks anyway. The soldier steps forward. One motion, a shove, and Tomasz hits the door frame. Another blow and he folds. You open your mouth and nothing comes out. They drag him up. They push him toward the door. He turns and looks at you once. His face is strange, calm in a way that frightens you more than the shouting did. He says your name. Then the door closes between you. From the bedroom, Piotr starts to cry. A 5th soldier appears. He points at you. Get dressed. 2 minutes. You put on a dress and your wool coat. You go to Piotr's room. He is sitting up in his small bed, confused, frightened. You hold him for 10 seconds. You tell him you will be back soon. You tell him to be good. You do not come back. Outside, a truck is parked at the curb. 3 other women already in the back, not speaking. None of them look up when you climb in. The truck moves. You watch the street through the gap in the canvas. The buildings slide past. The cobblestones. The poster you didn't read. The town disappears. You think about Piotr's face, his eyes finding yours in the dark bedroom. That is the last thing you will let yourself think about for a very long time. Because if you think about it here, in this truck, you will not survive the thinking. Part 3. The Arrival. The train takes 2 days. 30 women on wooden benches, windows frosted over, no one speaking. Every few hours the train stops, and you hear shouting outside, and then nothing, and then the train moves again. On the second morning it stops and does not start again. Outside, gray sky, gray ground, A wire fence stretching in both directions as far as you can see. Watchtowers at every corner. An iron gate. Female guards stand along the platform. This detail surprises you. You had not thought about that. They move you through the gate in single file. On the other side, the women around you stop talking. Even the ones who were crying stop crying. Something in the air here makes that happen without anyone saying a word. This is Ravensbrück, the largest concentration camp in Germany built specifically for women. It will hold over 45,000 prisoners before the war ends. You do not know any of that yet. A guard reads your name from a clipboard, does not look up, hands you a strip of cloth with a number sewn onto it. From this moment, you are the number. Not Anna, not Tomasz's wife, not Piotr's mother. The number. In the barracks, a prisoner named Vera is already there, wrapping her feet in strips of cloth. Methodical, unhurried, like a woman with a system for everything. She has been here 8 months. She does not say welcome. She says, "The rules here are not written down. Figure them out before the guards figure out you don't know them." Then she goes back to her feet. You sit on the bunk above hers and stare at the wall and try to find something inside yourself that is still the woman who stood in a kitchen with a fern on the windowsill. It is harder than expected. But you find it. You hold it the way you hold a match in wind. Part 4. The first visit. 3 days in, they put you to work. 10 hours a day in a textile workshop. 40 women feeding fabric through machines loud as constant argument. Your fingers blister and break and harden. You learn which guard to avoid. You learn the soup at the bottom of the pot is thicker. You learn that anything you own is currency, and currency stays hidden. On the 5th night, a man's footsteps stop outside the barracks door. The door opens. A soldier holds a lantern low. He moves it slowly down the row of bunks. You keep your face to the wall, body completely still. The lantern stops on your bunk. He says one word, "Come." You get up. The barracks is silent. 30 women, none of them moving, none of them looking. You follow him out. You come back before dawn. Vera has left a basin of cold water on the floor without a word. You press your hands into it and hold them there. You do not cry. Something inside you moves somewhere else instead. Somewhere locked. You lie back on the bunk and stare at the wood above you and listen to footsteps in the corridor until they pass. They pass. You close your eyes. Part 5. The routine. The visits do not stop. Not every night. Never on a schedule you can predict. The not knowing is part of it, you understand. A precise tool, like the cold, like the hunger, designed to keep you unsteady. The days grind forward. Dawn roll call in the cold, standing in rows while guards count and recount. 10 hours at the machines, thin soup. Back to the barracks. There is something else now. Something you have been trying not to count. You have missed your cycle. Twice. Maybe 3 times. You have lost track of the weeks deliberately, because keeping track would mean facing what it might mean. And if it is true, you will never know who the father is. It could be any one of them. Any one of more than 50 men in this camp who have walked through that door. One morning, a prisoner collapses during roll call. She falls sideways and does not move. The guard does not stop counting. When the count finishes, 2 prisoners are ordered to carry her inside. You stand at attention and stare at the fence and feel something shift inside you. Not grief, something colder. You are calculating survival the way you once calculated groceries. That afternoon, a new group of prisoners arrives through the gate. Among them, one woman who does not have the stunned look the others wear. Younger than you, dark hair, sharp features, a diagonal scar on her jaw. She walks through the gate with her eyes already moving. She does not look frightened. She looks like someone who was frightened once and made a decision about it. Part 6. Vera and Marta. Her name is Marta. Czech from Brno. Captured in 1942. Escaped 3 months later. Recaptured 6 months after that. Recaptured, you say. She looks at you sideways. It does not mean it cannot be done again. Over the following weeks, you learn her system. She has mapped every guard rotation, every weak point, every blind spot in the fence. She knows a section on the eastern wall that sits unobserved for 40 seconds during the shift change. She has counted it. She shares information in installments. You pay her back with what you notice, changes in the duty roster, guard moods, patterns. You are useful to each other. In a place like this, that is what friendship looks like. Then comes the night in February that you will never forget. You wake to sounds from the far end of the corridor. Not footsteps. Something worse. Multiple sets of boots. Laughter, then silence. In the morning, Vera is not at roll call. They find her in her bunk. She did not make it through the night. The guards say nothing. They strip the bunk and move on to the count. You stand at attention in the cold and stare at the fence and feel something inside you turn to stone.